So creating a nomination for the Emerald Award is actually a lot of fun. It's a really uplifting experience, gives you an opportunity to look back on and reflect on and celebrate what you've accomplished with your team. To decide, Gregory's already gone through this, you basically need to decide, are you going to nominate your organization as an organization, or are you going to nominate one of the projects or initiatives that you have pursued? I'd say generally for legacy projects would be, or legacy submissions, you would want to have been in operation for some period of time. The 6 key steps I'm going to walk through in the next few minutes here are how to go about capturing the narrative of your project, how the benefits and how to go about quantifying some of your efforts and impact, give you some pictures or insights into how you can make those things more visually appealing to the judges and demonstrate your value and reach to them. And a few tips on how to compile your story and use the attachments opportunity to your advantage. So for capturing your narrative, new this year, there is an MS Word document that you can download. In past years when I've applied, I've actually recompiled the nomination form so that I could share that in a space on Google Drive or SharePoint, somewhere where you and your team members can collaborate and come up with very effective ways of wording things, because you have a word limit on what you are allowed to submit. Make sure you review the criteria in each section. And when you're actually getting ready to paste this into the submission form, you will not want bolds, italics, charts, graphics. The best thing to do is to use bullet points and bullet points with dashes, because they will translate into the form very well. Great sources of information: your annual reports, reports to funders, project reports. And think about, in doing this, capturing really specific examples of the work that you do that demonstrate how you're fulfilling the criteria. And in your narrative, you'll really want to talk about the rationale for your work, the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them, any creative partnerships that you may have entered into, and the benefits that your target audience or your project have generated as a result of your work. The form itself has areas for environmental benefits and outcomes. Think about the energy savings. In our case, we looked at generation capacity, reductions in energy use. You could think about waste saved, things like that. The other thing to think about are outcomes in terms of changes in awareness, skills, aspirations, changes in people's knowledge and behaviors, and policy changes that have happened as a result of your work. And building measurement in everything that you do can really help you when it comes to applying for awards like this moving forward. For the 7th generation principle, I would think about yourself today. Today, many of us will become in the future great-great-great-grandparents. And as a result of the work in the organization or project that we're working on today, what changes are you influencing today that will create lasting change into the future for those great-great-great-grandchildren? And what does that look like? What do those changes look like? And for the Sustainable Development Goals, really take some time to visit the website and read the outcome statements for each of the Sustainable Development Goals. and dive deeper into the sub goals or targets that are set. There's over 169 targets that have been set for these goals. And if you can draw linkages to those, that would also be very helpful. So here's an example of some of the information we shared in our application. Our organization helps municipalities advance climate change mitigation and adaptation initiatives across Alberta. And we've been around for about 10 years, and in and around the time we completed our application, we had this suite of impacts that we had achieved at that time. And that's very, very powerful to the judges. One thing, reflecting on it now, if I had to go back and redo this, would be maybe quantifying this in ways that would make it more visual to them. So 17,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions avoided annually. How many cars are we taking off the road for that? 27,000 solar modules. How many houses could we power with that? That might really help the judges see your impact a little bit better. Make your application visual. This is where you have opportunities in your attachments, not the submission form itself, but in the attachments to show your team in action. Show pictures of the people that have worked on this project, participants in your project. Take those statistics and turn them into something that's more visually appealing to the judges. Talk about, for organizational submissions, the history of your organization and how you came to be where you are today and the kinds of things that you've done over time. Consider attaching videos. We don't have time to display this today, but you could pop onto our website and see this. But this gives a really 1.5 minute overview of our organization and the kind of work and impact that we're trying to achieve with our partners. Statistics, again, take things like your outreach statistics and look at them from the perspective of the number of events or engagements you've held, how many people you've reached. You could break this down into the type of people that you've reached. Your newsletter subscribers, if you have something like that. How access to your website, how many people have been reached through there. Pictures. When I joined the Municipal Climate Change Action Center, we had a small team of 2, and I asked, like, do you have any pictures of yourselves in action? And there weren't really that many. Really speaking to your team about capturing images of the work you're doing. These pictures will be valuable not just in this nomination, but if you're successful, they can be used in videos and promotions. And they can help you further your work by supporting nominations and other proposals that you're working on. So definitely capture pictures. More statistics, just an example and a picture of, in this case, our municipal energy manager in action, looking for energy savings opportunities in a rec facility. Pictures of the projects themselves and a few statistics about those projects. So this is more current to today, but we have 117 projects in place in recreation centers across the province. And they're working really hard on identifying energy savings and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Electric vehicles, pictures of these vehicles in action. Celebrate some of the big successes. In our case, one of the participants that we worked with became the first electrically net zero town in Canada by installing solar on a variety of buildings across their municipality. Tell that story. Here's another story. They became, at the city of Airdrie, on their recreation facility, Canada's largest rooftop mounted solar system. And the pictures are really impressive. Think about your engagements, give examples of those engagements, give a list, show the types of things you've done over time. You could expand on this, talk about how many people are there, what kinds of things happened at these engagement events. If you have any kind of media coverage, and think broadly about media, like it doesn't need to be newspapers, news media. It can also be coverage in newsletters with partner organizations, things like that. Capture them, give a list, make this hot clickable so people can go out and actually see examples of those articles out on the web. And if you get coverage, because coverage, the hot links stop working at some point, take some screenshots of that coverage so you can insert examples of that into your application. If you do any case studies, reports, things like that, you don't need to attach the actual reports, but you can give some images of those reports. If you do any newsletters, you can give some examples of those. Social media, that's a really strong area where a lot of us invest our time in reaching our target audiences. We do a lot of work on LinkedIn ourselves. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. So take some of your posts and show how you're outreaching to your target audience and community. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. What's great about these tools also, as an aside, is you can tag your target audience or your partners. You can use hashtags and help elevate their successes at the same time. Support from leadership. It's really powerful to show the judges that your leadership is on board with this initiative. So we look to our executive directors, our CEO, the presidents of the Rural Municipalities of Alberta and Alberta Urban Municipalities Association for quotes to help celebrate our successes over time. So this work here that is being shown was celebrating our decade of impact, and we used those celebratory quotes in our nomination package. Compile your story. So PowerPoints and PDFs are really great ways to compile everything together. And you can create a table of contents at the beginning, section it out to make it easy for the judges to follow along. In our case, we did sections that matched the sections on the nomination form, and then we provided a narrative on the submission form. And then in our attachments, in our story compilation, we built that out and gave more evidence and background to support what we were saying. So think about PowerPoint's excellent, PDF is also excellent. And this, in our year, we were only allowed to attach, I think it was 1 document. So you have some, a bit more flexibility this year. You can attach 5 documents. So this is just a snapshot of the inside of our nomination PowerPoint. This is the section on engagement, different category that we used last year, and showing some examples. So those are the major steps that I wanted to share with you today, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions you might have later on in the presentation.